Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video tutorial, we will dive into two different methods for creating buttons in Canvas, which I will explain in detail throughout the video. Additionally, we will explore how to link buttons and adjust their alignment on a Canvas page. If you find this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, it really helps out the channel. Here, I have created several buttons to demonstrate what we will be recreating together. In the first method, we will explore the available options for button size and color in Canvas. In the second method, we will learn how to create customized buttons by adjusting the font size, style, and color of the button label, adding icons and emojis to the label, and modifying the button size, corner radius, background color, and spacing. In the final section, we will explore how to link our buttons and align them on our pages. Now, let me switch to a blank Canvas page to begin creating buttons using the built-in options available in Canvas LMS. Alright, let's get started by exploring buttons of different sizes. In Canvas, there are 4 built-in button sizes: mini, small, medium, and large. Let's begin by creating the mini button. First, click the edit button at the top right of the screen. Then, click the HTML editor view icon to access the back end of the page. In the HTML editor, type open bracket a space class equal open and close quotation. In the quotation marks, type btn space btn dash mini. Move your cursor out of the closing quotation marks and close the anchor or a tag by opening angle bracket and close the anchor or a tag by closing angle bracket slash a close angle bracket. This will create a mini-sized button. To add a label to the button, simply type the text you want to appear between the opening and closing a tags. For example, I will type mini button as the label. The text placed inside these tags is what the user will see and interact with. Now, let me switch back to the rich content editor view to see how the button is displayed. As you can see, it appears as a blue hyperlink. To view it as a button, we need to save the page. So, I will scroll down and click the save button at the bottom right corner of the page. Once the page is saved, you will notice the buttons now appear as clickable objects. When you hover over them, the pointer changes to a hand cursor. However, when clicked, the buttons won't open a page yet because we haven't linked them. Additionally, the button color will change to a lighter gray to indicate interactivity. Let's proceed to create the other button sizes. Click the edit button, then switch to the HTML editor view. One thing you may notice is that Canvas automatically edits a p tag when we save the page for our mini button, placing it inside the paragraph. Now, copy the entire code snippet and paste it 3 times. For the first newly pasted button, move your cursor to the class attribute and change it from mini to small. Also, update the button label to small button. For the next button, change its class to group, update the label to medium button. Finally, for the last button, change its class to large and update the label to large button. Next, to view the updates, scroll down and save the page. Now, you can see that buttons in all 4 different sizes have been created using Canvas built-in HTML classes. In the next section, we will focus on customizing the button colors using Canvas built-in color styles. In this section, I will use only the large size button to demonstrate the readily available background colors for buttons in Canvas LMS. Before we begin, please note that your institution may have customized the colors for the built-in options. If that's the case, your buttons will reflect the color scheme your institution has selected for the button classes we will be exploring. To get started with coloring the buttons, first, click Edit. Then, switch to the HTML editor. Next, copy the snippet of code for the large button and paste it below. Let's change the label of the first button to syllabus. Then, move your mouse to the class attribute and add btn-primary. After that, copy the newly created snippet and paste it 9 more times. For each new button, replace primary with the following classes: success, info, warning, danger, beta, publish, published, unpublished, and finally, link. Once you have finished replacing the class names, scroll down and click the Save button to see the changes in the background color of the buttons. Here, you can see the colors reflected by the classes we used in the backend. Along with the color changes, you will notice that the beta button includes a beta label on it, and the next 3 buttons have their labels left aligned. The last button looks like a traditional blue colored link. However, when I hover my mouse over it, it becomes clickable even if my mouse isn't directly over the text. This is because there is actually a button surrounding the text, making the entire area clickable. As we conclude this section, in the next one, we will explore how to create custom buttons. In addition to the built-in buttons in Canvas, we can actually create our own custom buttons with a desired background color, font size, font style, height, and width. Let me click Edit one more time and switch to the HTML editor view. I will place my cursor at the top of the existing code snippet to begin typing the code for my custom button. As I walk you through the coding process, I will provide a detailed explanation of each component to ensure clarity on how it functions. I will begin by creating an opening and closing A tag, and then insert the button label text such as syllabus between them. After that, in the opening A tag, add style equal quotation marks. Inside the quotes, type text dash decoration colon none semicolon. This ensures that the button label text will not inherit any default styling from the institution's Canvas instance. Next, within the style attribute, type font dash family colon Verdana semicolon space font dash size colon 13 pt. This ensures that the button label text uses the Verdana font and has a font size of 13 pt. Now type color colon followed by your desired HTML color code, then add a semicolon. Next type background dash color colon and provide the HTML color code for your button's background. The first color code will set the text color for the button label, while the second assigns the background color to the button. Next, type border dash radius colon 10px semicolon. This will round the corners of the button. Finally, for spacing, type padding colon 13px space 18px semicolon. This will create 13px of space on the top and bottom of the text and 18 pixel on the left and right sides of the text. To view the updates, scroll down and save the page. Here, you can see the newly created custom button with a dark yellow background and white text color. As we wrap up this section, the next one will cover how to align buttons on a Canvas page and add icons as well as emojis to our custom buttons. Aligning buttons is a straightforward process. First, click the Edit button once more. In the Rich Content Editor, select the button you want to adjust. Then, click the alignment icon in the toolbar and choose your preferred alignment option. In my case, I will select Center Align. What if we want to align our buttons side by side? For example, if I would like to add 3 more buttons next to my custom button, we will need to switch to the HTML editor view. First, copy the entire A tag of my custom button. Then, paste it 3 times next to the closing A tag. After that, change the new button labels for each new button. The first one to modules, the second to grades, and the third to library. Finally, scroll down and click the Save button. It looks good, but there is an issue. The buttons are not spaced apart. To add a space, click Edit. To demonstrate, I will try adding a space in the Rich Content Editor view. As you can see, it's not allowing me to click between the buttons, so it's not possible to add a space here. We need to switch to the HTML editor view to make the changes. I will add an HTML space code between the closing and opening A tags. While there is a more advanced method for adding space, I won't go into that this time. For now, I will place my cursor right after the closing A tag, then type Shift 7 followed by NBSP semicolon. Let me copy this code and navigate to the next closing A tag. Now, I will paste the space code between the second and third buttons. I will repeat the same process for the third and fourth buttons. To add an icon, right before the label text of the first button, I will paste a pre-copied code snippet that will insert a pin icon into the button. For more details on adding icons, please refer to the video linked below, which explains how to insert icons without the Icon Maker tool in Canvas. To add emojis to my button, I will switch to the Rich Content Editor view. Next, I will place the cursor next to the first letter of the second button label. Then, I will press the Windows semicolon key combination on my keyboard and choose an emoji to add to the button. After making any additional adjustments to the button label text, I will click the Save button at the bottom right corner of the page. We can now see that the space has been successfully added between the buttons, along with an icon on the first button and an emoji on the second. As we complete this section, the next will cover how to link the buttons to both internal and external resources. To create links for the buttons in Canvas, we will use the Rich Content Editor view. However, in certain cases, such as removing external link icon or deleting the link entirely, we will need to switch to the HTML editor view. Let me click the Edit button to start creating links using the Rich Content Editor. First, make sure the entire button label text is highlighted. Next, click the link icon in the Rich Content Editor toolbar and select Course Link. In my case, I will click on Course Navigation in the right pane and then choose Syllabus from the list. After that, scroll down and click the Save button. Now, let's click on the first button at the top to check if it works properly. Yes, it took me to the syllabus page. I will return to our page now. How about if I were to create an external link? Let's click at it once more. Highlight library in my last button. Move to the link icon in the toolbar and this time select external link. In the pop-up, paste the external link into the link text box. Then click down to apply the changes. Finally, scroll down and click the Save button. As you can see, there is an external link icon in the library button, but it can be removed. To do so, click Edit and switch to the HTML editor view. Then, locate the opening A tag for the library button. In the class attribute, change Inline Disabled to External. Finally, scroll down and click Save. The external link icon has been successfully removed. To update a button link, open the Rich Content Editor view first. Then, click the button you want to update its link. For buttons with external links, click Link Options, then type or paste the new link into the right pane and click the Done button at the bottom right. For course links, also called internal links, click Link Options after selecting the button and choose a course component from the right pane. Then click the Replace button at the bottom right corner of the pane. Please note that, in some cases, you may need to follow the same steps as for external links when updating buttons with course links. Finally, scroll down and click the Save button to apply the changes. If I were to test it, clicking the button with the course link opens the correct page. Let me go back to my work in progress page. Now, let's click the button with the external link, and it also opens the correct page. So, both buttons are working as expected. Let's return to our work in progress page. There are also several other cases that you may need to remove the existing link before updating it. When this is the case, please be aware that removing links from buttons can be a bit tricky when using the Rich Content Editor. To show you why, once the Rich Content Editor view is open, I will click the linked button, then choose the Remove Link option. As you will notice, the button turns into plain text. For this reason, I strongly recommend using the HTML editor to remove links from your buttons. Let me undo that change and switch to the HTML editor. For buttons with external links, highlight the code starting from the href attribute up to the closing bracket. Then, press the delete key on your keyboard. For buttons with external links, highlight the text starting from the title up to the closing bracket and then press delete. This method ensures the links are completely removed without affecting the button's appearance and functionality. Let's scroll down and click the Save button one last time. As I hover my mouse over both the syllabus and the library buttons, the cursor doesn't turn into a hand pointer, indicating that both buttons are unlinked while preserving their appearance. We have now covered everything you need to know about buttons in Canvas. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more tutorials. If you have any questions or need further assistance, feel free to leave a comment below and I am here to help. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time.